Once upon a time, Bruce was a teen passionate about salsa. With his sister by his side, they took England by storm, winning competitions and awards. He was set for the nationals when older mean boys did what they do best. Traumatized, Bruce decided not to show up for the competition. He called his mentor and told him he quit. Adult Bruce is an engineer at a firm. At work, they anticipate the arrival of their new boss. Bruce heard she's a woman, and his colleague Drew has plenty of sexist remarks about it. Not only is she a woman, but an American. Another colleague, Helen, has a bone to pick with that. At the office reception, Drew declares their new boss is hot and lists 1,000 unprofessional things he'd like to do to her. Drew plays upbeat music to get everyone in party mode. He's got an awful mouth but a personality that brings life to the party. He notices Bruce in a corner and urges him onto the dance floor. Bruce declines. He doesn't dance, no matter how persuasive Drew thinks he is. Bruce bumps into his boss, Julia, on his way out. She'd left earlier, pretending she had a call to take. Their ID cards tangle, and while trying to untangle them, Bruce notices a typo on Julia's card. It reads, Julio, instead of Julia. She won't get it changed because she sort of likes it. Bruce agrees. Julio has a Cuban vibe and makes for a cool nickname for Julia. Later, Bruce visits his sister Samantha and tells her about the encounter with his boss. Samantha is relieved he's finally mentioned a woman after donkey years, but she's unimpressed with him waving off a good opportunity to have someone special. Having Drew as a colleague is tough. During Bruce's presentation at a meeting, Drew decides to play a promo video of Bruce that he hates. Drew teases him, and Bruce struggles to keep his cool with Julia present. Bruce meets up with his golf buddies. Before they play, they catch up on each other's romantic lives. None of them have anything substantial going on with the opposite sex, but it doesn't stop Bruce from briefly daydreaming about Julia. Bruce and his friends are rewarding themselves with beer when Julia enters the pub. Bruce starts acting like a proper middle schooler with a big crush, shy with low self-esteem, believing he's an ogre in love with a princess. Gary encourages him to meet Julia and talk to her. It may not be so easy to win her over, but he's at least got to try. Bruce follows her trace, dragging himself up narrow steps as modern salsa music fills the air. PTSD hits him hard. He still remembers those boys forcing him to eat sequins from his shirt. Reaching the top, he peeks through the door and spots Julia, fully engrossed in a salsa routine with a dance partner. He goes to Samantha and tells her his findings. Intriguingly, Julia is into salsa, and it brings back good memories and makes Bruce feel like he can connect with her. But he also remembers the mean boys. While Samantha is aware of his trauma, she thinks it's time to move on. Bruce misses dancing. Seeing Julia dance has reignited a flame within him that Samantha would prefer doesn't flicker out again. After several shots with Samantha, Bruce goes home energized. He unboxes his old stuff, donning his medal and setting up mirrors so he can pull some moves. He soon realizes that he's out of shape and has lost the iconic flames from his feet. When he wakes up from a nap, he finds a news clipping stuck to his face. A piece of an article referencing his mentor, Ron. Bruce seeks out Ron, who immediately recognizes him even though it's been years. Bruce is rusty and requests just one lesson under Ron to help him get better. Bruce is like a prodigal son that's just returned, so Ron decides to give him a second chance. Bruce skips golf for salsa, but instead of a private class with Ron, he meets a basic class for beginners. Bruce confronts Ron in his office, pushing the man to call out Alicia, an advanced class cabaret teacher and national champion, to put Bruce through the ringer. Bruce is barely able to keep up with Alicia and leaves the building, head hanging in shame. The following day at work, Drew shares a series of disgusting sex fantasies about Julia with Bruce. Fed up? Bruce finally calls him out, but Drew just sneers, suggesting Bruce has no chance with Julia and might as well drop the charming defensive act. Julia gets distracted while trying to put a tape into her car stereo and hits Bruce in the process. He's not hurt or injured, but she insists on driving him home to make it up to him. Bruce sees the cassette is a salsa tape, and Julia becomes shy. She doesn't believe Bruce when he admits he's also into salsa. Bruce shows up for the next basic salsa class far more humbled. Ron is silently surprised to see him. The routine comes naturally to him on the second try, and the salsa teacher commends him. Bruce goes on to apologize to a guy he was rude to on his first visit. The guy's name is Bejan, and he invites Bruce to hang out with the rest of the salsa class at a club. Bruce isn't sure he'll attend, but agrees to take Bejan's number. Bruce updates Samantha on his groundwork so far. He's picked up salsa again because of Julia, wanting to impress her. Samantha suggests that he go easy though. He must get to know her better before asking her to dance with him. Earlier, Julia invited Bruce to join the team in bowling. He shows up with a customized salsa tape dedicated to Julia that he keeps tucked away until the right time. Bruce sucks at bowling, but Julia is willing to help him get better. While she's up for a round, Bruce sneaks the tape into her purse. Drew notices Julia and Bruce growing comfortable with each other and isn't pleased. He ramps up the teasing, trying to unnerve Bruce and crush his self-esteem, reminding him he has no chance with the prize. Bruce returns home and decides he'll take Bajan up on his earlier club offer. Bajan comes over and insists that Bruce get a makeover. They're in the middle of it when Gary shows up and asks why Bruce is ignoring him. Bruce starts to lie but gets caught, causing Gary to be disappointed. With a fresh tan and clean shave, it's time to salsa. They arrive at the club, lit up with dazzling lights, upbeat music, and synchronized dancers. Bruce heads toward the bar, but his salsa teacher insists he hit the dance floor. No excuses. Ron scoffs at Bruce's basic moves, taunting him to either step up or step off. Fired up, Bruce stops holding back, proving exactly why he was once a champion. Sadly, Bruce spots Julia and Drew dancing together, and he is dejected, walking away in defeat. Drew gloats to Bruce at work. He saw Bruce place the mixtape in Julia's purse, so he took it before Julia could ever see it. Bruce doesn't bother to mention to either of them that he was there at the club. While Bruce's hand is stuck in a wall, Drew passes the mixtape as his. Julia is impressed and mentions it's a thoughtful gift. Guess he's one step closer to getting into her pants. Bruce resumes golfing with Gary and Mickey, but he's in a sour mood. He especially doesn't appreciate Gary insinuating that Bajan is his love interest. Gary and Bruce have an altercation over Bruce keeping secrets. Bruce finally admits that he's into salsa. He likes his boss and thought to use salsa to win her over. Gary advises Bruce to move on and let Drew have Julia. Bruce goes to Ron's studio, and Ron has questions. He saw Bruce leave the club because of Julia and wants to know if she's the reason he came back. Bruce is a downer. He refuses to repeat the cool moves from the club, and also refuses to properly play a board game with Ron. Ron's analysis is that Bruce is restraining himself, but he can't pinpoint why. Bruce admits what the mean kids did to him that night. It's why he's been so scared. Ron feels like this is no excuse. He's been picked on too, and Bruce doesn't see him whining about it. After much pressure, Bruce explodes. In a good way, he's ready to dance. With Bruce's new attitude, Ron becomes his private tutor. There's a long way to go, but Bruce is getting the hang of it. As the days go by, Bruce moves with more ease and confidence, even breaking out in quick moves at the office. Julia listened to the tape and tried to discuss it with a clueless Drew. He does his best to pretend he knows what she talks about, and she invites him to her place, asking that he bring Helen and Bruce along. Drew scoffs behind her back, knowing he'll do no such thing. Bajan brings to Bruce's notice that there's a salsa competition coming up that Bruce should partake in. Bruce promises to consider it. During a board game, Ron gives Bruce a pair of vintage salsa shoes that Bruce appreciates. Ron thinks Bruce is ready to take back the world by storm. Bruce wants Ron to come to watch him perform. Bruce wears his shoes to work to ask Julia to be his date for the salsa competition. She's not at work, so Bruce calls Samantha for advice. Samantha suggests that he go to Julia's house and ask her there. Bruce loves the idea. Bruce is taking a piss when Drew walks in to torment him. Drew mentions he gave Julia the mixtape, and he's very close to winning the prize. Bruce bursts out with the truth. He dances salsa and he's willing to challenge Drew. They take their beef to the car garage. The winner takes Julia. The dance-off commences. Drew takes off running because he's got on the wrong shoes and he's tired. Bruce, on the other hand, is still energized. Even after he's lost, Drew still has an awful mouth. But Bruce isn't bothered by it anymore. Drew may still win Julia over, but Bruce is content knowing that he's done hiding who he truly is. Bruce dresses up and heads to Julia's apartment to ask her to dance with him. But the words catch in his throat when he spots Drew inside, pants off. Stunned, Bruce runs off. A confused Julia turns around, surprised to find Drew Her shock turns to anger as he makes shameless advances. When she's heard enough, she throws him out, warning him to stay away from her. Bruce isn't at the event center, but Gary knows where he might be. Samantha finds him at the golf club and tries to convince him to keep dancing. Bruce only picked it up again for Julia. Even if he were to keep dancing, he doesn't have a partner. Samantha reminds him that he has her. Once upon a time, it was them against the world. Bruce returns with Samantha to the venue. Sadly, Ron couldn't make it. Before they can develop cold feet, the siblings head to the dance floor, dominating it and solidifying their position as semi-finalists. After a short recess, Bruce and Samantha return to the stage and go neck and neck with Alicia. Gary is so impressed that he brags to the woman next to him about Bruce being his good friend. Bruce feels lonely until he spots Julia. She knows now that it was Bruce behind the mixtape. She clarifies nothing is happening between her and Drew, and she never thought he could dance. Bruce tells her he learned how to dance again because of her, and in the process, he rediscovered himself. The MC calls for the final dance performance, and Julia agrees to be Bruce's dance partner. They're already performing when Ron shows up with a smile on his face. They don't win, but Ron is proud regardless. It was a job well done.